Hello, SolarLune here, and hi, how's it going? How's everybody doing today? Yeah, that's better. Okay, so in case you don't know who I am, you probably don't because I am relatively unknown. I am SolarLune. I am an ND, kind of like a wannabe game dev, and yeah, I make games. Sometimes music, sometimes art, sometimes, and yeah, we're gonna be doing stuff today. So one thing I wanted to do is basically I've been working on music for a while, and I have a nice little set of music, kind of like video game music, and I think I'd like to make a game that kind of like would work with this music. And one game that I always like would love to play and that no one ever really seems to make is a game kind of focused on exploration. Like whenever there's a chance for like to go in an exploration route, the game almost always goes the opposite way, in that like it pursues like crafting and items and stuff like that, and or like I'm not too interested in that kind of stuff. I'm personally, I know people are like give me Minecraft with like better combat, hidden items, pre-made towns, no crafting, no items that you can make. Like you take out all the stuff that like makes Minecraft popular and like go hard left onto like exploration, and that's kind of like the kind of game I'd like to make and play, which is like Cube World. Cube World is a game that I love, and I wish they would the developer would kind of continue to make it, because I think it's really good. Like the combat's fun. It's fun to run around, it's fun to level up, it's fun to have different skills that do vastly different things and change how you play the game. And I want something like that. I want a game where basically it's about exploration, it's about finding things and kind of becoming better at the game, not necessarily leveling up, but becoming better yourself and approaching different things in different ways, kind of like that. So I don't want to make, like, I feel like there's not really too many of those kind of games, just action exploration games. So that's one game I'd like to try. Okay, so Caterpillar and Mariano Sulugoy says, basically, Caterpillar says, Solar, are you a software developer? No, not really. I make video games. I've made, video game related software. I've made non-video game software, but just for myself. Let's see here. Mariano says, oh, basically the same question. Yeah, exploration is a lot of fun. I feel like that's kind of the kind of game I would love to play and make, is a game that's focused on exploration, focused on you kind of like bettering yourself and stuff. So that's what we're going to try to kind of start on today. I have no idea if we're going to... Oops, that was not right. Hold on. Hold up. Gotta make some changes. Oh yeah, also somebody asked for background music, so we'll just use this background music. You know what, that's been playing for a little while. Let's go for a different one. Yeah, let's go with this. But this is another example of a song that I would like to kind of make this game for, and that it would like sound pretty cool, I think. I mean, the game for this song would be good. That's kind of the idea. I keep doing that. That's not what I want to do. New project. Let me just go over here. The Wanderer. There we go. Mariano Sugoi says, any opinion about Breath of the Wild? Yeah, it's really good. Like, from a gameplay perspective, it's very good. And that's kind of what that's kind of the kind of game I would like to make, basically. Very focused on combat, but there's still stuff for you to find and do apart from combat. But it's not really about like crafting. It's not about, really finding items to make different things. There is that in the game, and I probably would not have those kind of systems, just because like I don't really get the crafting mechanic where it's like, oh, in order to make this item, you need these other items. It's like, okay, I get the idea behind it, but at the same time, fundamentally, it's just a different economy. It's just, instead of having money, or in addition to having money, now you have to pay in other things. And it's like, well, why? Like, you know, if I want to grind for cash by fighting one enemy, a million times, or fight a million different enemies, what's the difference to the game? Like, why do I have to have like this particular monster part or this particular suit of armor or something to make whatever I want to make? Like, if it's basically just a resource, like I could see if it was like kind of intelligent crafting, where it's about the shape of the item, it's about the size of the item, the weight of the item, what it's made from. But if it's just like, oh yeah, in order to make, you know, the best sword in the game, you need the second best sword in the game. It's like, well, why? Like, it's not, there's nothing really, there's no reason for it. It's just, you have to just mush it into this other thing. It's like, well, why not just allow me to sell the second best sword for money, an obscene amount of money, and use that money to buy the best sword in the game. That way, if I don't want to, I can buy it some other way, rather than like forcing me to get this thing. I don't know. 6 lines of code says those things are usually to make different areas required for progression, I think. That's just general. I'm just talking about it generally. I'm not talking about any particular game where you have to like get an item to craft something for a quest or something. I'm talking about like Minecraft. Like, you get an item and then you push those items into another kind of item. In Minecraft, it kind of makes sense because there's no shops, but like a lot of games have crafting, like Minecraft, where you know, have to get 3 mushrooms to push them into, you know, a mushroom, you know, a big mushroom or a mushroom soup or whatever. But then you also have to pay money to do it. So it's like, well, why do I have to pay money if I have to get the items? The items themselves are the cost. And then if I have to pay money anyway, why not just make it so I can sell the mushrooms for the cost to just buy the soup? Like, why both? In Minecraft, it kind of makes more sense because it's like you're by yourself, so that's the cost, that's the economy. And not every item can go into every other thing, but in some games it's like, what does it matter if I have this? You know, I'm not a fan of crafting mechanics because it feels like they just kind of stretch out the game in a sense. Like, rather than making it so that you can just play the game your way to buy what you want, you have to play it a certain way. You have to go to this area in order to get this item, and it's not for any kind of real reason. It's just, you know, it's just a progression of this is how you get these things by going to these places and fighting these enemies. And it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of salty about it because it's like I don't really have too strong of an opinion. I think I just don't like it when like those crafting mechanics get in the way of the gameplay, the core gameplay. So that's what we're gonna try to do, is have kind of a fun like core gameplay here. So we'll try that. I don't know if I'll be able to get anywhere with it. Let's see. So this is gonna be the player character. This is gonna be kind of interesting. Let's see. We'll just do something really simple for now. Harry Sarso says, what are you trying to make? Crafting? No, I'm trying to make no crafting. I'm specifically trying to stay away from crafting. I don't want crafting in the game, at least for now. Maybe later, I don't know, maybe, but like, I don't want crafting. Okay. Alright, he's a little beefy. So this is, I'm just going with a basic silhouette just to kind of get the shape of the character. It probably would take too much time to actually draw the character because I want something kind of playable. So we'll just go for a basic shape and then go from there. Mariano says, are you going to work on Cairo 2 or something new? Something new. Harry Sarso says, I mean, really, when is it crafting? And when is it buying at a shop? It's a gradient, don't you think? It is a gradient, but a lot of games, I would only say crafting, like, really is when it really matters what you put into the thing. Then I feel like it's kind of correctly taking advantage of the idea of crafting your own thing. Like, if I can make a boat out of a variety of different materials and they all have different properties, like a metal boat being heavier than a wooden boat, but a metal boat having higher durability, and you not being able to purchase a boat yourself, or only being able to purchase pre-made boats that work a certain way, but you can make boats yourself out of other materials that you can't purchase, then it kind of makes sense. Because then it's like, okay, this is something I can't do myself, or this is something I can do myself. I can make boats out of my own materials. I can basically approach it however I wish, or I can buy it, or if there is no buying ability, then it makes sense to have crafting, where it's just basically an economy. But I guess my problem kind of comes in when it's like, oh yeah, you can buy a boat basically by just giving me crab shells, and that's the only way to buy a boat, is by giving me crab shells. It's like, well, why do I have to make a boat this way? Why can't I just buy a boat? Just let me sell the other junk I have, and then I can buy a boat, rather than having to specifically buy something that doesn't really make sense for the game, or specifically kind of put time into getting things just to make this arbitrary thing. I guess that's the problem I have with a lot of crafting systems, is that it's based off just arbitrary mechanics and arbitrary systems. Because I mean, essentially, what a crafting system is it's an economy, right? So you're turning one thing into something else. And I think the problem I have with a lot of crafting systems is that they don't really take advantage of the crafting system for customization, and they don't really pay attention to kind of why. Hold on, I'm trying to get this right. Like, they don't take advantage of crafting as a concept for customization, and they have other economies in there already that could stand in the place of crafting. So it's just like, why is it there? Like, why do I have to collect these other things to make the item I'm after when I don't need those other things? Really, I have another thing I could use, like money. It's like, well, why do I have to get money and materials? Like, why not just let me sell whatever I don't want to get money, and then I can buy what I want with that money, rather than having to use my time to get materials and money. Like, they both do the same thing. So I guess that's the point. I just don't want redundancy. So crafting, I don't really like it that much, but I don't really care. But I guess mainly I just don't want redundancy. All right, let's see here. I'm just trying to get a general perspective on this. General shape. I want something kind of SNES like, but it's kind of hard to. Caterpickle says, I've started attempting using Godot because of these streams. Oh, it's going pretty rough. Oh, yeah. It's basically, yeah, it's gonna be rough. Godot it's a great program, but it's not as usable as it could be. Especially if you're trying to do 3D and you're not familiar with the other programs that you're gonna use, or you're just not familiar with the workflow of 3D. Mariano says, your character looks like a snowman. What do you have in mind? Something that I'm not going to draw here. I'm just kind of getting a general proportion shape. And then from there we'll go later. Okay. So that's a start. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with a test scene. Let's go with the kinematic body. Physics, let's see. Collision, shape, capsule, radius 0.5. Alright, so we have a scene for the player. Let's rotate this capsule body around so it's upright. Sprite, 3D, load, assets, graphics, human PNG, pixel size, let's see. So it's a 32 by 32 character. So 1 divided by 32 should give us that. Didn't I say that the height is 1? Okay, well, can I just do times 2? There we go. Okay, let's see here. Everybody starts with says, I guess then it also really depends on how you view your world. Maybe the people in the world just work that way and view that as normal, like getting the iron for blacksmith and paying everyone to craft it. Yeah, I mean, but we're trying to make a game, so whatever it is, it should be fun firstly. I mean, unless that's the point, is it's not fun, it's whatever else. Maybe it's sad, or maybe it's heart-wrenching, or it's funny, or whatever. But I mean, if we're trying to make a game that's fun, we have to think about it from the gameplay perspective. So like, if the game suffers, if the game flow suffers, or the game playability suffers because I have to constantly pick up things from other parts of the world just to craft the an item I want, then the game's not going to be that fun. It's not going to be as fun as it could be. And it's going to feel more grindy because it's just going to be like a, oh, I got to go pick up this thing, return to the blacksmith, get the item. Pick up that thing, return to the blacksmith, get the item. Instead of just like, but then again, if that's the flow, it's going to suffer either way. So yeah, if the flow is like that, if it's kind of trash, then it's going to be, like the game flow has to be good. So yeah, I guess you're right. Maybe it depends. It all kind of depends on how the game kind of works. That's a way more appealing human character. Much better. Okay. We'll just do like that. Okay, cool. So this is gonna be our character. Actually, I guess he should be on the ground like that. There we go. So now we're gonna go over here. We're gonna say we want to add a node. Slide the player in there. So I'm kind of going through this kind of quickly. Let's see here. Caterpillar says, whoa, I had no idea there was a 2D preset for sprites. I was re-importing without bilinear filtering. Yeah, the preset is just that. It just like does that and some other things. But yeah, that's basically it. Alright, so we got a player. We're gonna give him a script. Okay, that should work. So let's go back. Make a camera for the player. Oh, right. Node. Right, okay, so yeah, we're gonna need a, actually we're gonna need a 3D node, 3D spatial. So this is going to be my usual setup, which is basically a cam helper, which is like the target for the camera, and then the camera's kind of following it around. So we'll move this back a solid, we'll say 6, I guess. That's a little far. Let's see here. Let's move up a little bit. Maybe not that far. There, so move the cam helper. Yeah, moves the camera. Okay, cool. So this is the player. He's got the cam helper. He's got the camera. Mauricio Fernandez says, "I guess I'm late." Somebody already asked this. Nope. But what is your take on the death of the Blender game engine? Well, yeah. I mean, like, it's understandable that they would take out the Blender game engine. It's just it's unfortunate, but at the same time, I think that it's something that could definitely be improved upon if they gave it a little tender, love and care. But it would take kind of a good amount of that. So I feel like, I understand why they would remove it, but at the same time, I feel like there's definitely room for a game engine that integrates directly with Blender, or for just better work with integrating Blender directly with game engines. Harry Star says, well, imagine a game with 2 swords. Now that metal upgraded sword from the blacksmith is a one-time thing and really important in the game changer. I'm not sure what you mean by that. He says, wait, actually, did you what you wanted to make, or just not crafting? I'm not sure if you mean like, do I know what I wanted to make? Yeah, I just don't want crafting, basically. At least not right now. Maybe I can do it later, but like for the gameplay, I want it to be basically like you get money from fighting enemies. Maybe you get items. I guess that's fine. You get items and money from fighting enemies, but the items generally aren't turned into other items as a central mechanic, like crafting systems, where it's like, oh, we need 5, goblin helmets to make your own, human helmet. It's like, well, why? I don't want that system. Not right now. I don't think. Mariano Sugoi says, Blender engine did not die, only Blender internal renderer. No, they're taking out the game engine as of 2.8. As far as I know. That's I believe that's the case, what they're gonna do. Alright, so we got the player, he's got a camera and stuff. So when we play this, can we see him? Yep, okay. So what we're gonna do now, I guess I could say, sure if I can do this. Let's see. Why isn't this? Why isn't this completing? It's really weird. Let's see. Harry Sarso says, you said crafting becomes grinding and such, therefore my response. Yeah, I mean, crafting doesn't become grinding, I guess, but I mean just kind of how it works. How crafting just kind of like... crafting just kind of doesn't really... Like, there's room for it to be done well. I feel like most games don't do it well, though. Let's see. So people are talking about basically BG being removed, and you know what it will be like in the future. Oh, Mariano Suluboy says I have to be in the player scene for the editor to know the context. That's kind of jank. That's kind of jank. Like that's. I'm gonna be honest. That's a little bit jank because I get it because there's no way that it could possibly know that I'm referring to the player scene here, but at the same time, like that's just kind of jank. Like it's cool that it does. I guess it's cool that it can do code completion on a dynamic, you know, programming language. But the fact that you have to have the scene open for it to work is kind of weird. Yeah, that's weird, man. Okay. That's really weird. Okay. Man. Remove child. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. There we go. That's weird. Get node dot add child. Get node. Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, so that's weird. So the node does exist, but for whatever reason, get node.add child cam helper, remove child cam helper. That's weird. Why is this not adding it? Remove child. What's the... As a child, no. Yeah, this is weird. Okay, I don't quite get why this isn't adding the node to the scene graph. Like, why isn't it adding it here? I removed the node, and then I'm getting the parent, right? Let's see. Harry Tarso says, I get what you mean. I just was playing devil's advocate that crafting doesn't have to be what you were thinking. Yeah, I mean, I think it could be done right. I just think that most games don't really do it that well. They just treat the items as a resource and that treat the items like a what's the word? Just another like a piece of gold, but only for this particular like combination. And I feel like that's kind of a waste. Mariano Sulugoy says, it reads the scene doc. Yeah. So yeah, it's weird, and what I was saying that it's kind of weird is just like I get why it needs to be open. Well, I guess I don't get why it needs to be open, because it could theoretically look through all the scenes in the project, which, you know, there's not that many, and because each scene, all the nodes and all the scenes, and basically create a kind of thing in the background that says, oh, this is a player node, it has the player script, so whenever it, you know, whenever I see this script, it's going to be applied to this node. I mean, you could do that, that's messy, but at the same time, it's just kind of weird that like it needs to be open, because I feel like that's not something that's documented. But maybe it is. If it is, good. If it isn't, that's not good, because there's no reason why that, you know, you wouldn't think, oh, the scene needs to be open in order for the code completion to work. So that's, if it's not documented, that needs to be documented. Let's see here. So cam helper equals get node, cam helper, remove child, cam helper, get node. Okay, I'm not quite getting why this isn't. Node, okay. Yeah, okay. So the world exists. I'm not sure why it's not adding the child though. Is it like it needs to be like on another frame or something? Man, I hope that's not it. Okay. Let's try this. It is. Why? That's awkward. Okay, so this is kind of awkward too. That like, unless there's probably something to do this, because this feels awkward. But basically, when you call remove child, it doesn't happen immediately. It happens later. So that means that you have to call remove child and then wait till the next frame and then reparent it. So maybe I'm mistaking something. Maybe there's another way to do that. That's not this, because this is kind of bad. A little bit bad, kind of bad. Mariano says, I guess I understand that, but it's easier said than done, because the same script could exist in different scenes with different layouts. That's true. That's why I said it's messy, because it's like, you know, this refers to a player here, but you know, I could have a different node that runs player as well. So it's, you can't. But then again, I type at the top extends kinematic body. So even if I don't have this open, why? Okay, so it does work. Okay, so it's just, it doesn't know that the node's there. Okay, I get it. All right, that makes more sense. All right, that makes more sense. I was thinking that like all code completion didn't work unless I had the scene that used the script open, but it just can't tell the node layout unless the scene's open. That's better. That makes more sense. Okay. Let's see here. Caterpillar says on ready var cam helper. I could do, yeah, okay, thank you. That's good. Yeah, I could do that. but that doesn't fix this section, this situation where I have to reparent. Is there another way to reparent? It doesn't look like there is. If there's another way to reparent, somebody let me know, because this feels a little awkward. I'd imagine that there must be a better way to reparent than waiting till the next frame. Removing a child of a node, or I guess removing the child of the target node's parent, and then reparenting it, like, you know, removing it and then adding it later to another parent. I feel like this has to be like, there's got to be a one-liner or something that's just like reparent cam helper or something. Okay, so let's see here. Alright, so this is working. Oh wait, that's right. I don't need to do this. Mariano says, I think there's a reparent search using F4. Let's see, reparent, parent. Get parent is a parent of, get position in parent, exclude parent. I'd imagine that there must be a reparent. I'm not even gonna complain about that. Because I'm sure there must be a method to reparent. There's gotta be. Well, maybe there isn't, because if removing a child is something that happens at the end of the frame, then there couldn't be a one-liner for it, because that would require, I mean, not couldn't, but, you know, if it's something that basically you have to wait until the next frame to reparent. Do I have to remove it first? I think I tried this just a second ago and it didn't work, so let's just double check. Is it not possible to just... No? No? It doesn't look like it. I think, yeah, it's not possible to reparent in one... I guess I must not be doing things the Godot way then. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so it is moving. It's just, yeah, the camera's parented. Okay, so yeah, I guess this is not how Godot, you should do it in Godot, where the camera helper is in the player, you know, just as a convenience, and then unparenting it later and parenting it to the world. I guess it's better to put the camera helper in the world existing already, and then just have it set the camera. Yeah, okay, yeah, so we'll do that, I guess. We'll go ahead and... save branches scene, cam helper, whoops. I'm always bumping this thing, is this right on my path between my keyboard and my mouse. Let's see, scenes, we'll go with clear. Delete that. Okay, that's better. Okay, so cam helper. Let's see here. Well, let's see here again. Okay, that's what I need to do. There we go. Alright. Oh, whoops. That's not what I meant to do. Mariano says, I can't see too much on my cell phone. Why do you need to reparenting the helper? Basically, I had the camera helper in the same scene as the player, and I just because it's convenient to have them both there so you can kind of position it and see, you know, how close it should be and stuff. And I wanted to basically move it away from the player, unparent it from the player, and parent it to the world node. But that seems kind of awkward, so instead I'm just putting them in separate scenes now. Okay. There we go. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and see now how this works out. Okay, I think it's moving, which is good. Now let's go ahead and see. There we go. Okay. Alright, so that's good. So we don't need this anymore. We can have this be fixed process. There's no such thing as fixed process, I guess. What's it called? Physics process. There we go. Okay. So let's go back to the world here. Let's add a plane, which is something that doesn't exist. It's what's it called? What's it called? What's it called? What's it called? It's a plane. It's I don't remember. It's like graphic, immediate geometry. I guess that's what I'm thinking of. We want. Or no, that's not what I'm thinking of. What's the thing? That's a ground. I've forgotten. Let's see here. Mesh instance. There we go. I want a plane, just to kind of start things off. Let's go for a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay. That's good. I'm kind of thinking about like this, because I feel like I am kind of stumbling in Godot because I use it so infrequently, and I'm wondering if I would do better in BDX, because like the idea that I have for this game is pretty simple. It's not a like a really graphically intensive game. I don't really need like shadows and stuff. I guess I want something that's, you know, I don't need anything particularly like strong. So I'm wondering if maybe I should go with BDX. It's just, let me try that out. Well, I'll leave it up to everybody. I'll leave it up to everybody's suggestions. If you want to keep seeing me struggle with Godot, that's fine. I can. This is for, you know, I'm not streaming just for myself. I'm streaming for everybody. But at the same time, I don't want it to be unentertaining. So let's see. I'll have to think about it, I guess. Let's keep going for a little bit. Okay, so he's moving to the right. That's good. This should be forward. Why is there no edit for these? No. Left, right, okay, right, left, up, down. Whoops. There we go. Okay. Everyone's saying I can relate to the struggle. Hashtag relatable. Everybody likes seeing me struggle. That's fine. Fair enough. Maybe I'll do both. Maybe I'll do this for. It's been about an hour, so maybe I'll do this for. What time is it? 5. Maybe I'll finish it off. Finish the hour off. So basically around 60 minutes, 70 minutes. And then I'll jump to BDX and basically try the same thing in BDX and see kind of how far I get, because I'm pretty rusty. I haven't used BDX in a long time. Let's see. All right, so what we need to do now is move him depending on if he's pressing the arrow key. So if what is it? Key right. Oh man, if input dot action is action pressed. Right. That's not right. We need something a little more in between that. So we'll say vector 2. It's not what we wanted, but that's fair enough. Let's see. I guess we want Z, not Y. Caterpickle says, yeah, I've tried a lot of game engines, and Godot's node scene thing makes the most sense to me. That's interesting. It makes kind of sense. It makes sense like when you look at it, but I feel like it doesn't quite make sense when you're using it. But maybe, I haven't used it for that long, so I can't really say. But I feel like it's easier to think of a game in terms of levels and objects. But Godot removes that because nodes stand as scenes as well as objects themselves, which makes them versatile, but it's harder for me to wrap my head around because it's like there's no such concept as a level, really. It's just placements of nodes. And that's cool, but then you have docs in here that specifically refer to like level. Like you have like current level, like change level. I know that there's a restart level, something like that. I'm pretty sure there's a function in here to like change a level or restart the level, but there's no such thing as a level. So that kind of makes things weird. And the weird thing is, like, it works until you change the node, the root node, then that function no longer works. Like, it was weird. It was like, and I've seen this behavior. I'm not just making this up. I've seen this in my previous project, or one of my projects, where basically, like, there's a function to change or restart the level, and that works until you change the nodes. Like, the root node. Like, if you change the root node to something else, then it doesn't work anymore, which is weird. It didn't like that. Let's see. Oh, whoops. Wrong. Needs to be -1 and +1. Speed. I'm just doing this kind of rough and tumble right now. Just to kind of allow me to move around. Okay. Okay. Alright, that's good. Let's get some other directions in here. Let's see. Caterpillar says, it seems to be okay so far. Yeah, it's fine. Good, that's fine. You just have to get used to it. Which is the same as any other software. Game engine or otherwise. Mariano says, get tree, switch scene, level path. Can be the same as current. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, get scene, switch scene. Get tree, switch scene. It's weird because there's no such thing as a scene, and it doesn't work if you, under certain circumstances. So that can be a little confusing. I feel like they might want to do something about that. And for anyone who's wondering, like, I'm not trying to speak bad on the engine. Like, I'm not trying to like throw it under the bus or anything. I'm just not used to how it works, and that just makes it, you know, a little difficult. And you know, I would contribute documentation and stuff, but I feel like they don't. It's not particularly easy to contribute to. Yeah. Because I don't think it's like you can just go up there and like go to GitHub and just like throw stuff up. It's just like it's just I feel like it's not really like as easy to contribute the documentation as it could be. But I guess that's kind of understandable, and especially you wouldn't want documentation written by people who don't understand the engine like myself. So, you know, it could be that the engine does something for a very good reason, and I just say, oh yeah, that's wrong, and I contribute documentation, and that's not right. Let's see here. Okay. Let's see. Lucretia says, "What up, Solar? What are you working on?" Yo, this kind of like action game I wanted to try to make, so we'll see how this goes. No idea how far I'm gonna get with it. All right, so we got forward, we got back. And we got side, so those should be enough to kind of start with. There we go. Good. Rails Dev says, have you looked at any tutorial videos? Nope. There we go. Alright, so now we'll go and do the animation. Sorry, I'm just looking at like the clock and stuff. I'm like, what? All right, so let's see. Right back to it. So we got to add a frame, which is, I always forget where the add keyframe button is. Where is it? Oh wait, what am I thinking? There we go. Very good. So now let's see here. So the next thing I need to do is if walk here.x is greater than 0, then we want to have the animation player play walk R. Alright, so alright, so this should allow us to basically play back these animations when necessary. So y is less than 0, y is greater than 0, and then x is less than 0. Okay. So we also want not to flip this, right? False. We want to flip it when you turn left. Otherwise, we want to walk you, I think. And we want to play the desired animation. And if animation player get animation tutorial. Alright, so that should do it. There we go. Alright, so that's a good start. Let's see here. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is make combat, I guess. Oh no, wait, camera, that's right. So it should be able to rotate around by using the mouse. Alright, we want to rotate around on the y-axis, I guess. Yeah, okay. I'm thinking that maybe I don't need to directly control the camera. Maybe you could just kind of like know which way to turn. Because I always like to, like, if possible, kind of design games. Well, this one is supposed to be kind of inspired by, like, what's the word? Like Mode 7 in SNES games. So like I'd like to design it like it could be played on a SNES controller. So you have movement, you have 4 face buttons, L and R, start and select. So I'm wondering, like, what if you couldn't control the camera? But what if, like, that was by design? What if that's good? Like, you don't need to control the camera. Maybe L and R rotate the camera. Or maybe there is no camera controls at all. Trying to get it to detect my controller that I don't have plugged in. That's why it's not. That's why it's not detecting. There we go. Okay. So, wait. The left. Okay. Okay, so that's left. Okay, it knows. Okay, so this is right. This would be left. This would be up. This would be down. That's weird. Why isn't down detected? What the heck? That's weird. Okay, for a second I thought that it wasn't like detecting my inputs, but maybe I was just... I don't know. Let's see. Mariano says... Oh, wait, what? Whoa, I've been missing all of this, these results. Hold on, these, quotes. Mariano says... well, it used to be manual. You had to remove and add childs to the root viewport yourself. Jeez. Let's see. Rails Dev says, love the Know Your Node series. Mariano Sulaway says, switch scene removes the current node representing the main scene and replaces it with the scene on the past, so it saves you a mini awkward work. If you don't mind the question, how difficult was it for you to get followers? I did it stream a couple of days ago, but I only had one watcher most of the time, and ended up talking alone for half an hour at the end. Oh well, you know, it's just one of those things. You know, even now I have over 8,000 followers, but not very many people are watching this stream right now. Just, I imagine like 30 or 40, 20. Oh, 40. Wow, that's a lot. So yeah, yeah, so like that's... End up talking alone, right? Yeah, so it's like, if I wouldn't worry about getting followers. The way I got followers was to just I made videos on YouTube. I've been making videos on YouTube for like years, and which is crazy to think about. And also, I have had a Twitter account for years. I've been tweeting for years. I've been making different games for years. You know, people who know me for Valkyon, who know me for Gearind, who know me for Cairo, who know me for you know, all these things, Sparky. They accrue over time. So yeah, that's, I would say, like, the if you want to get followers, just keep making stuff and don't just like stagnate. Lucretia says, for some reason this character is how I imagine you to look in real life. Thank you. Okay, that's interesting. Let's see here. Mariano says top down, isometric would work too. No, it's not top down or isometric. It's just kind of like it's gonna be like a behind the back kind of thing. I think it'll work. I think it'll look pretty good. Let's see. Mariano says, oh, by the way, today joystick axes were added to input map on the master branch of the engine. Oh, really? Nice. So moving the character according to the axis value will be easier than before when it's released. Oh, that's nice. Okay. Okay, so... Oh, whoops. Sorry about that. Okay, so now we need to basically kind of figure out which way the player's trying to move. And kind of like... move the camera, rotate the camera in that direction. Okay, so we say target position is his current translation, and then the target previous position is the position he was at the last frame. So that lets us know which direction he's moving in. Caterpickle says, "I've been watching Solar's video since Valkion. That's like three or 4 years now." Yep. Thank you for watching for that much time, man. Or woman. Thank you very much. Let's see. So this lets us know, so then direction equals there we go. So now we're going to normalize this. Is it normalized? Okay, so that should... Oh, wait, what? Okay, that's weird. Alright, so that should give us the general direction that he's moving in. Okay. Now we have to rotate. We have to kind of have the camera face the direction that he's moving in. Or no, wait. Wait, no, let's think about this a little bit more. So, how does the camera... Because if you're going backward, we don't want the camera to turn around. Do we? When you press right or left, to the camera turn right or left? Maybe I'll think about it a little bit more because I don't want to do anything too crazy. Let's leave the camera alone for a little bit. Come back to that. Let's try adding some basic combat. So when you press a button to attack, it'll add basically. We'll make a new folder. Call this objects. When you press a button to attack, it'll basically spawn like a hitbox essentially. So let's make a new scene. This is going to be a spatial. This is going to be a I guess we want a kinematic, or no, we can just do this with an area. So we'll just do that. Area. This will be an area. This will be. It needs to have a collision shape. Whoa, what? Sorry, the quality dropped suddenly. Mariano Sulaway says, that's crazy to think about. I know him from not too long ago when he started with Pop's game. Oh yeah, yep. Thank you for joining and watching me. I appreciate it. They say the camera should just show what's in front of you. Right now when you move right, most of the screen shows what's behind you. You need to add an offset to see ahead. Maybe so. Maybe that would be good. So it's basically, you can't actually directly change the camera. You just move around and it'll kind of compensate. That might work. Alright, so this will be a hitbox. This will be a hitbox. Or should the hitbox be... I guess we'll just do it like this, yeah. It'll be a box. So when you press the button, it basically spawns this hitbox. And for now, we'll have this thing. We'll name it hitbox, and then we'll give it a graphical thing. So now let's go over here. We'll give it attack. I had this on WASD, but yeah, I'm not gonna actually. If I'm not gonna actually have mouse controls, then we can make it just ordinary keyboard controls. X, joy button, that's fine. I guess this would be, I want Nintendo Y. Alright, so when we press input.is action just pressed attack. How do we do this again? I always forget how to do this. Bar. Let's see. Hitbox equals shoot. Reload. Hitbox. Lucretia says, ha ha ha, you guys are cute. I've known a Solar since the Nimbus City days, for I am the biggest SolarLune fan of all. But maybe I should have read that with a little bit more ridiculousness. You guys are cute! I've known of Solar since the Nimbus City days! I am the biggest SolarLune fan of all! Come on, man. Come on, man. Thank you very much for sticking with me these past like 10 years or whatever it's been. It's not been that long, but it feels like it's been a long time. Alright, so we need to spawn this hitbox. Instance. Add child hitbox. Alright, so that works. We just need to now position it. So hitbox dot, what's the word? Translation equals translation hitbox dot move, or I guess we'll just do translation plus, can I just do plus equal, or yeah, okay. Now we just need to hit the hitbox actually to only last a little bit of time. So we'll say it gets a script. Lucretia says that's exactly how I sound in real life. Mariano says kind of reminds me of Seto Kaiba on Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels. Oh man, that's I have no idea. I do not remember. I've never watched Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay, so we're gonna connect it. I think that's right. So when it times out, we'll just oh shoot, I forgot how to. Oops, that's not what I want. What's the word? Where you like you die or kill a thing? What's it called? Where it's like you clean it up, you queue free. Okay. So we'll just leave it like that for now. There we go. All right, that works. I'm gonna do that actually. What Mariano suggested. That's good. I'll just make it so that every move here. Caterpillar says, if you leave that unready line in, I'll have to buy this game when it's done and tell everyone I contributed to it. Please do. Okay, let's see here. Alright. Mariano Sulagoy says, since it's not likely to have more than one of these colliders on the scene, you could just keep the note on the player script and add and remove it to the scene when you attack. That's true. Oh, that's true, yeah. Maybe I'll do that. And then, because you only have, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So now what we're gonna do? Try to get this perspective working. Let's see. again, actually. If dir.length is greater than 0, move dir equals dir. There we go. Now it only updates when you, yeah. There's a couple ways that this could be improved, but for now I'm just kind of keeping it simple. Let's see. If dir.length is greater than 0, then move dir equals dir. Target, okay, so print move dir. So then we want to say, let's put this at the bottom. No, let's see. Translation done. Wait, why was that so, like, awful? Let's see. Oh, okay. It's not supposed to be a constant thing. Okay, so let's see. Translation plus equal move dir. Translation, I guess, needs to be equal to. Here we go. Plus move dir. Yeah, put it in there. In there. That should help us out. Okay. Let's see. Let's give it a little bit of a range here. That actually is kind of cool. That is kind of cool. Like it goes behind him. It's too fast, but that's not a bad like system. It needs to be kind of separate from the movement, but that's kind of the idea. Okay. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna take a break here. I'm gonna get some water firstly, and I'll be back in a couple seconds. Hold on. There we go. Hello again. I'm back. Alrighty, let's see here. Yeah, let's go with this. Alright, so now I'm going to try switching things up a little bit and going to BDX and seeing how far it is trying something different. So we'll keep our assets, our asset. We only have the one. Oh yeah, I can do this actually like this. I was like, I don't remember that. And then I was like, oh yeah, I guess I kind of do. Wait, what? It didn't happen this time. Oh, yes it did. Never mind. Okay, well, whatever. Oh, I made a directory already, so I have to just do like that. Alright, so we created the scene already, or rather the project folder. So now when we go to Blender, let's rename this the Wonder. Whoops. Alright, well, whatever. I'll name this the Wander. .blend. Alright, there we go. Winder Alves Liborio says this type of 2D and 3D has a name. Are there other games like it? Yeah, but I don't really. I mean, there are other games like it, but I'm not sure exactly what you'd call them. They're kind of like 2.5D or yeah, like 2D sprite and 3D world games. There's other games like it, but I can't. I don't know if there's a name for them. Maybe we should just call them Mode 7 games, but there's already a game company named Mode 7 Games, but the idea still stands. Alright, let's see here. So we got Eclipse coming up, we got Blender here, we got graphics that we took already from Godot. Let's see here. Okay, we got that. Alright, so it seems like it's working. Let's see here. Oops. I guess we'll just do it like this. Let's add a plane. Okay. Okay, so this is the player's collision object. Let's make a wireframe so we can see through it. This will be the player's sprite. Get rid of these images we no longer need. Alright, we need it to be transparent, so let's go ahead and turn on alpha clip. I think is it alpha clip? Does that work? Nope. Or maybe it does if we have transparency on. Let's see. Transparency, turn that down. Turn on alpha. Is that it? Or is there something else? I don't quite remember how exactly to do transparency in game. In BDX? Do we say alpha blend? I don't remember. Let me look it up. Me Mistake says, hey. Lucretia says, why are you in BDX now? Comparing techniques or, yeah, basically. I'm trying to see, like, how... I'm trying to just use BDX, basically. I'm just trying to, like, use both and see how they both do. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't remember how to do alpha transparency. That's crazy. I've lost it. I did alpha transparency like every day, but for some reason I've completely forgotten. Or is it just checking the, maybe it's just checking the box that says transparency. That was it. Alright, well that's good. Okay, so now we need to parent this. Okay, so this is the player, so we'll give him a script here. Let's see here. Mariano Sulugoy says, to be honest, if I had to do all the steps you did to set up the project, I'd have run scared from it. Really? I didn't really do anything. I just created the folder. That's the only, like, apart from, that's basically it to set up the project. Maybe you were seeing me do other things. I'm not sure. Let's see. So now we're going to set up the input maps here. Let's see. Right. Up. Down. Up. Right. LS up, actually. Mariano Sulgoy says, I understand it's easy when you know what you're doing, but it looks like a high learning curve. I'd say it's not bad. it might be lower than Godot's because there's not much to it, like because you don't have anything else. Mariano says, "Dunno, I saw you kind of binding Blender to BDX to Blender project and running stuff on terminal that looked like building something." Nope. I was just running a terminal so that I could see the output here, rather than having to have my output in a terminal that I have a window for, so I can just toggle it on and off. But yeah, it's to each their own. It's not really too difficult or complex. But let's see if I can remember how to use BDX. Let's see here. So we have to do the movement. So let's do public int move speed equals 8. If bdx.imaps, I can do it like that. If bdx.imaps dot, I can do it like this actually. Hold on. Oops. 3f equals bdx.imaps. I guess new. Oh man, hold on. New vector 3f. Let's see here. bdx.imaps.i down right minus bdx.imaps.i down left. Let's see. X, Y. imaps.i down up minus bdx.imaps.i down 0. Okay. I need a semicolon up there. Alright, now velocity move dot scale. See if that works. Nope. What'd I get? Error GSLS. Oh, that's right. Okay. There we go. That worked. So now let's go ahead and move the camera over a little bit. Add a cube. This will be the center. Our cam helper. Parenting the camera to the cam helper cube. Now let's go ahead and add another class. Let's see. New vector 3f, or no wait, let's import that, but we need it to be target dot position minus position. Oh, I can't do it like that. It's minus. Alright, so yeah, this is this is different. This is, oh man, I've forgotten I have forgotten. This is something else, man. It's electric to work with something that you know. So I can't even. It's not about Godot. It's just to work with something that you're familiar with. It's just like crazy, dude. Oh my goodness, I haven't done this in years. Not years, but like months. Okay, let's go ahead and add the ability to restart if bdx.i keyboard.key hit r bdx.restart if bdx.keyboard.key hit escape bdx.quit or end rather. Oops, wrong key. There we go. Let's scroll this down actually. Yeah, okay. Let's see here. Oh man. Okay. Let's do alright, so we need to get the character to face correctly, like we had before. We should be able to do this with Sprite. I wrote an add-on myself that hold on. That should work with this. Let's see here. Oops, that's not it. Okay, so when we export this, we want to export the JSON data too, and then we want to make a sprite component. So this is gonna be slower because I need to basically kind of get this all squared away here. How do I want to do this? I think I'll need to do it like this. I'll just do this kind of this way. Okay, so this is where I need to make a link. So I'm gonna make a link to this folder. This is a thing on GitHub. You can go ahead and grab that on my GitHub thing. My repository. I basically made this, collection of different utilities that I use. One of them is an sprite loader. So let's see here. It should be in here somewhere. Let's see. Components. Yeah. Mesh. Sprite anim. Okay. So I'm gonna make a link to this folder in here. There we go. So now that should go ahead. Let's refresh. Weird. There we go. Okay. So this is what we're looking for. This sprite anim. Let's see here. Okay. Doesn't know what a matrix is. Okay. Caterpillar says, geez, he did that whole thing in like 5 minutes. Took an hour in Godot. I'm not familiar with Godot. It's not about. I wouldn't say that BDX is faster. It's just I'm really slow with Godot. I'm sure that you could do it way faster than I was doing it in Godot. I'm positive on that. Your takeaway from this should not be let me jump to BDX because he was faster with BDX. I made a game in BDX that was like I worked with it for like a year, 2 years. Of course, I'm going to be faster in BDX than I would be in Godot. Godot is a fine application. Please keep using it so you can be faster than me. Let's see. Okay. So this should be able to work here. We just need to say public sprite anim ase. We'll do sprite anim. We're looking for children.get. We're looking for player SPR, and that should be it, I think. Let's see. Let's see if that loads. Not sure if it will or not. I wouldn't be surprised if it crashes for some reason. Nope. Seems to load okay. Let's see. Components.add ASE. Do I have to do ASE.load? Or does that do it automatically? Let me see. Looks like it loads automatically. Okay. So I don't have to do ASE.load. Alright, so this might work if we just do this. Let's see if we can just test this out real quick. If bdx.keyboard key hit A ASE.play walk R. So what this should basically allow me to do is tag these animations like this. And then when I export, it should basically pull up, I should be able to play the animations just by calling ASE.play with the tag name. So let's see if that works. Not sure if it will. It works. Cool. So what we're going to do then is say we're going to make a vector 3f. That's the facing. And say, and this could be actually done like this. That way we don't have to set the scale, the length here. We can just do it like this. Move that mul. There we go. Move. Oh, cool. Okay. Move delta. All right. So move delta.mul. Okay. A. All right. So now what we're gonna do is we need to basically have it. Oh, I'm sorry. Mariano Sulugoy says, "How does Git interpret symlinks?" As I recall, it should basically just follow the symlink. So when if I committed this project to version history, it would basically just copy all of this stuff from BDX helper, which is in another folder, which is what I want if I were to do that, because that way you would want your project to be in a basically instantly reproducible state, which I believe, which like you want it to follow through and copy all the code from elsewhere, so that if you were to put this in another computer or something, it should basically be able to run no problem. Alright, so now let's go ahead and see about getting these animations to work here. So let's see. Facing, that's right. So we say if move delta dot length is greater than 0, facing equals move, I guess you could say new vector 3f, move delta. Now that's a little bit of a bad way to do that. I guess the right way would be to do something like this: facing dot set move delta. There we go. And then yeah, okay. And then we say if facing dot x is greater than 0, then AC dot. That's weird. Did I see something? Okay, I thought I saw something weird. Okay. AC dot play move walk R. Left Y. And do that flip. Okay, so this should then allow us to flip. I keep pressing F5 because I'm used to that. That's long-term muscle memory from making gear, like hardcore. Up, it crashed. Let's see why it crashed. Because null pointer exception 29948. Okay, so there. Oh, whoops. Yeah, there is no walk L. That's why I have that there. It should be just a walk right, but flipped. So let's go ahead and try this again. But yeah, that's pure muscle memory where I'm pressing F5 to test my game from when I was working with Garand. Okay. Cool. All right, cam helper target diff. Okay. Let's actually look through the camera so that it follows. There we go. This is a little bit weird. It's supposed to be kind of like rotated more dead on. A little bit over the shoulder. That should be good. Cool. A little high. Maybe something like that would be a little bit better. Caterpillar says, how many languages do you know? The only language I would say I know at this stage is Java, because that's the one I was using the most before I moved to Godot. I've learned a variety of languages, but I only, you learn in the sense of like, oh, you know how to make something in it, or you learn how to make something in it, but you don't really know it. I feel like I know Java pretty well. But over the years, I've used GameMaker with GameMaker language. I've used Java with Godot. I'm sorry, Java with BDX. I've used Python with Pygame a little bit. Yeah, I've used Python with the Blender game engine, of course. But yeah, I would say that like Java's the only. Man, his face down is really weird looking because you don't see his chin. Let's fix that. Yeah, I would say that yeah, that's fine. Let's go with that. So yeah, cool. Yeah, I would say that, yeah, the only language I really say I would know is probably Java. So let's go ahead and add a hitbox here. This will be a sensor. So a sensor should be able to detect all other collision types. The collision system is not as robust and as cool as Godot's. You have static, dynamic, rigid body, and sensor in BDX. Sensor is basically like a static object, kind of, but it can detect collision with everything. So we have a box as the collision bounds. Oh, and yeah, the only thing you really have is collisions. Like, you have raycast and you have collisions. There's no areas. There's no anything else. It's just you can cast a ray, or you can test for collisions between objects. You can't create. It'd be nice to be able to create an object for and test for collisions that way. Like, create an object, update the physics world, and say like, hey, did this object collide with anything? That would be cool to do, kind of on demand. Oh, you have AABB testing as well in code. All right, so this is going to be the hitbox. Okay, that's good. So now let's go ahead and we can export that. Now when we go back here, player, let's go ahead and attack KX G0. This will be X, I guess. Or A, X. We'll go with X. I like the input map system in BDX, but it's kind of awkward when it comes to gamepads because they're created according to the profile that they're set at. So like, it's a little awkward. It's a little weird. I like the input system, but yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like like by default it's the Xbox 360 profile because that's the most common gamepad. But like if you have a SNES controller, you'll either set the profile here, which you can do by like actually getting the gamepad and setting the profile like this, and setting it to something else. But you have to add the profile in there, so it's a little weird. It's a little weird. Meme Mistake says, "What is your favorite programming language?" Out of the ones I've learned, I would say Java. I think. Out of the ones I've learned, I think Java is the most like capable. It also runs really fast. It runs pretty fast compared to like, well, I can't even say that it runs fast compared to other languages because I've never run into a situation where Java was just like, oh, it hands down beat it. Like, oh, I made this thing in Python and it was, 30 FPS, and I made the same thing in, Java and it's 900 FPS. No, I've never done that, so I can't even say like it's faster. According to what I've experienced, I know that it is a faster language, but I haven't personally experienced it being faster significantly. I would say Java's my favorite. I think because as old as it is, it's pretty like set. Well, it's a frequently updated language. That's why one thing I like is that like even though it's an old language, it's been around for a long time. It serves a lot of purposes and uses in business environments. So security, performance, usability. That's going to be stuff that's key. Not so much cool features or anything like that. Yeah, so I think I like Java. Go GDScript, I like how simple it is. I think that they could prune away some of the extra features like what is it called? Notifications. I think they have like notifications. I always say this like on every stream, but it's like they have a couple of different methods to inform objects to do things. I think they could pare that down to like just one, because it's like you can send a notification, I think, and then you also can call a function like Python. You can just basically say if it has this function, call that function. So it's like, why do you have 2 or 3 different methods to do the same thing? That could be a little simplified. But I like that. I like that kind of dynamic, like you can approach it how you like and, call things on objects without really caring about, the mechanics of it. You just say, hey, this thing has a crush variable, crush function, call crush. That way, anything that can be crushed, we just define crush, and then it can be crushed. And that's a cool idea. But I also like how structured Java is. So you say, oh, this is a class that implements an interface, and then you can just say, hey, does this thing implement this interface? Then it has to have this function that can, let's say, can be crushed. So anything that implements can be crushed, like this, implements, can be crushed or whatever. And then you define this thing can be crushed as an implementation, as a implementation. And then it has to have a crushed function, and then whatever implements can be crushed has to have this function defined called crushed, public void crushed, or can be crushed, whatever. And then that way you can basically determine like, oh, can this thing be crushed if it implements this interface? So I like that kind of structured approach. Go, I like Go because it's like it kind of does this, but without the implementation kind of specificity, where it's like what I just described, where you have to say, oh, this is a class, it implements this other, kind of contract that says how this, like if I want to implement, let's say I want this to have a common functionality as other objects, but I want it to do it kind of its own way, I could have a class that it extends like I do, or I could say, like I mentioned, implement something. So let's say it implements can swim, right? So anything that has the can swim implementation can swim because it has a function called swim. Go says, well, why do we have implementations and implements keywords? Why don't we just basically say this thing can swim if it has a function called swim? So that's cool. But I don't like that as well, because if something changes the implementation, you have to go back and change your structs. So like you can't just say, oh, I defined the can swim function to, can swim implementation to be this, and now I'm going to go back and change it, and my IDE should go ahead and update that. No, because, well, yeah, no, because the IDE has no real idea. It's an implicit thing. The IDE and even you yourself have no real idea if something implements something. It's just something in code that says, oh, can this be casted to something that implements this feature? And if so, then it is that something that implements that feature, and you're good to basically treat it as though it were. It's an interesting approach. I think Go might be my favorite concept because I like how simple it is. Because there's only like a few different features. I think that's key. I love that about Go, is that there's only like a few different features and they do everything with those features. Whereas in Java, you have classes, you have implementations, you have I think you have struts. You might have struts. I know you have enums, but like there's a lot of different things that kind of cover a lot of different categories, and there's kind of overlap whenever you have a big language that does a lot of things. Python, naturally, any language. It's not, I'm not hating on any particular language. I like how simple Go is. So I'm not sure if I have a favorite. I think that I have languages I like and I use and I prefer, but then I quickly fall off because of different things. Like Go, I liked the language, but I couldn't get used to the fact like you can't have an import that you don't use. That just kills me. It's like, why? Why does it care if I have an import that I you know, forget to remove before I compile the program? Like, what does that? Why does Go care if I have an import that I didn't use? And you could say, well, that is a bug thing. You know, it could indicate that you have a bug, but still, it's just, you know, allow me to turn it off. Because when I'm, you know, prototyping and I need to print something out, you know, I just want to be able to import it and print. Mariano Sulugoy says, how difficult... so sorry, me mistake. I don't really know. I don't really have a favorite. Java works well. I like it. GDScript also, you know, there's good things about that too. How difficult would it be, says Mariano Sulugoy, to remap the input map on a config screen in-game with BDX? The actual process of changing things is just strings, so that's good, but it can be hard because you have to tie that to a GUI. But like this is the input map system. This is the input map process. Let me cut that out. Like, that's it. So if I want to change this to add another key, I can do that just by doing, you know, key A, and now the A key also is attack or whatever. But it's just a set of strings basically. So remapping it on a config screen, I don't know. I think it would be hard. I've done it before. I think it would be hard, but it could be that I did it kind of poorly, or maybe it's just kind of hard to do. I don't know. How has your experience been in adding input map remapping on a config screen in Godot? Because I haven't gotten there yet. Caterpillar says Java just seems daunting to me. I think it's daunting because it's a big language, but you don't need all of it. You need very little to actually proceed. So I think it can be daunting. I completely understand, but at the same time, I feel like it's not nearly as bad as it could be. It's not like the language. Like, you look at this, and it's basically the same length as Godot. It's minus this. This is in here because there's no GUI for doing this. But like the actual, and this is in here, but I don't have the nodes in Blender. So it's like, you know, it's roughly the same size. So it's daunting, but it's not like there's nothing really, like, if you read Godot, if you use GDScript, you can look at this and be like, oh yeah, I kind of get what he's doing here. That's kind of the case for any programming language. Like, once you learn how to program in any language, unless it's a fundamentally different kind of language, like functional or something, versus like functional versus let me think. I'm trying to think. Functional versus other kinds of programming languages. You know, unless you get into that, like, it's basically you can learn any language, like one language, and jump to another language really easily. Like, you know, if you rewrite this in Lua, it's going to look pretty similar. If you rewrite this in Python, it's going to look really similar. If you rewrite this in GDScript, it's going to look pretty similar. Like, there's, you know, you just have var instead of public. You have var, and there's no data type, I guess you could say. Like, you know, it's pretty much the same thing. There's no new, and there's no semicolon, but that's basically it. Like that's more or less, you know, you can read it pretty easily. All right, so let's see here. Where was I? Lucretius, yes, thank you. And Res996 says imperative, functional versus imperative. Thank you, yes. Functional versus imperative. Mauricio Fernandez says, I've programmed in a lot of different languages, never liked Java. It feels like the language is trying to make me program a certain way. Really? I never really felt like it's trying to push me in a certain direction. Well, actually, no, you're right. I see what you mean. Because, like, there aren't certain things that would be nice. Like, there isn't operator overloading, which is, you know, because ideally I would like to do something like velocity, move delta, times move speed. But that is something that does not work in Java because there's no operator overloading. So you can't do that. That's a pain. That's a right pain, you're right. But it's not too bad any other way. It works pretty well. Mariano says, I don't think there are really programming languages that are not functional. They might hide it, but at the end of the day, all programs are functional. Are they? Me mistakes. Well, wait. Caterpillar says, I only program in machine code because of its flexibility. I think there was a guy who was making a game recently, and he was making it in assembly. I think I saw that. He was making it in assembly. Either that or like ASM? Man, I don't remember. Or is that assembly? I'm not sure. Lucretia says functional usually refers to data immutability and creating new data when applying a function to it instead of mutating. Yeah. I guess that's correct, because when you, in Java, it does have functional functions. Like you can do like streams and stuff, like scene.objects.stream. For each dot, or I guess for each o dot body dot. So like I'm like this. This is, I guess we'll do it something like this. Body type. So this is a functional kind of approach where we say create a stream for the objects collection for all of our objects in our game scene, and for each of those objects, apply this setup. Do this where basically we just say o.bodyType. We're setting the body type to be dynamic, so we're basically doing this for every object in the scene. So it's like, but that's not really, but I think like this is a functional approach to things, but that's not really functional per se. Or is it? I don't know. Let's go back. So we had a sensor. Right, this is a hitbox. Okay, that's what we were doing. So if yeah, so we say if bdx.imaps.hit attack scene.op or scene.add hitbox name object hitbox scene.add hitbox.position hitbox.move facing. Lucretia says, check out the first line of the Wikipedia entry. Oh, I'm getting a crash. Hold on. Oh, I didn't like that. Oh, it's because I'm working with Java 7, but I'm using Java 8 stuff. Whoops. I actually do want to move to Java 8. Let me see. How do I do that? I don't quite remember. Yeah, 1.6. Source 8. Okay. I think I have to do... I wrote this, actually. I wrote a GitHub entry on this. Because I do want to do Java 8, like, source streams and stuff. Let me see if I can pull that up. It's gonna take a little bit to do that, so never mind. Lucretia says, yeah, check out the first line of the Wikipedia on functional programming. I'm surprised I hit it pretty close, lol. Alright, let's see where we're at here. Oh, is it invisible? I guess I might have made it invisible so we can't actually see it. Yeah, okay, let's make it visible. Yep. Yeah, okay, so that works. Now if we wanted them to die, there's a couple ways we could do this. And that's kind of one thing I like about VDX is that like there's generally one way to do things. Like there's multiple ways to do things, but there's not really overlap. So we can either like give the hitbox its own code, or we can like give it a component that basically kills it after a certain amount of time. So let's do that. We'll say we want to make a new package that we'll call, whoops, Let's try that again because I just nuked the line there. At the end, dot components. And we'll make a new class in there that will be the timed def, or I guess timed end, we'll call it. It is a component from BDX. Is that how we do this? I don't quite remember. Let's see. Oh, I see. Okay. There we go. Okay. Wait a second. I don't quite remember how to do components. Hold on. Let's go take a look. Okay, there we go. So basically what this is going to do, we're going to create a timer here. We'll call it a 1/10 of a second. Or no, wait, we want, no, we want a timer, which is, oh wait, does it, hold on. I thought, yeah, okay, there it is. I don't know why you couldn't detect it before. There we go. So we want a timer, it's 0.1f. So then we say public void main. Oh wait. Yeah, I think I can do this. So we could just override that. Yeah, the main function, because I think, or no, we set the state. Okay. No way, it doesn't. Oh, guys, maybe it doesn't. No, all right. So what I'm doing is basically this is how kind of components work. You set the state that's called. I guess I could actually do it like this. But you set the state that's called. That's kind of the current state of the component. Let's see. Oh wait, hold on. Lucretia says functional programming languages are super fast too. Immutability is powerful but difficult to work with, i.e. recursion in functional languages never overflow because they're basically loops. But imagine making a game where every time the character moved, you got a new character because his position changed. Yeah. Lucretia says it depends on the paradigm, but usually in functional languages, objects are completely immutable. The only way to move a character is to create a new character and update his position. Mariano says, that sounds very useless, even for desktop applications. The whole point of having an object is to mutate it, in my opinion. Lucretia says, making games with a functional programming language is very difficult. Yikes. So maybe that's why, you know, you could say ordinary languages kind of added functional abilities because it's, you see the appeal of functional programming, but you don't want to use it all the time for everything. So let's see. So this is just if t dot, whoops, t, what am I, no, t, stop it. Okay, if t dot tick, g dot end. Okay, so this should basically be it. So this little component should basically kill the object after a certain amount of time. So we don't have to make any code kind of that runs directly on this hitbox, we can just say hitbox.components.add new timed int hitbox. So this should basically kill the hitbox after a certain amount of time. Yep. Alright, so now let's try this out with a little bit of something kind of interesting. Let's add another cube, and we'll make this breakable. Now, there's a couple of ways to do this. One way is we can give it a property that basically says, oh yeah, this thing is breakable, like this. We can also make the breakable, this breakable object inherit basically from a class that implements an implementation that says it's breakable. So we'll just do this because it's simple. So we'll go over here and make another component that basically handles, let's make a new class, breaks, break, or I guess damage. We'll just go with damage. This will be a component. We'll actually just copy and paste this timed in because most of it's going to be pretty similar. There's no timer though. Say if g dot touching property breakable g dot touching objects dot get by property breakable. Dot end. So this should basically allow us to kill an object if we touch it, but we really want to do this for all the objects that we touch that are breakable. But this is fine for now. Also, I'm tired of switching to the camera, so we'll just set that in the init here. Scene.camera equals scene.cameras.get, or I guess scene.objects. Well, we have to cast it. We'll say scene.cameras.get 0. Oh, that's right. We can't do it that way because there's a Blender camera here that basically shows what the camera's showing here. Lucretius says, oh wait, there's talking about functional. Lucretius says, not difficult, I mean different. Requires a different mindset. We're so used to working with objects, which is why the switch would be intense. Look at any source code for any game made with the functional programming language is very different than what you see. Caterpillar says, I don't understand anything about this functional language stuff. Solar, are you self-taught? Yep. Yes, I am. Never went to school for programming. Mariano Solar says, what is state? A property like C#'s? I've never seen that syntax. It's an anonymous, what's it called? Anonymous object, I think. It's basically this is kind of a compression, essentially. You could do it something like, wait a second. That's just what I did. But basically, it's like you're defining a state. A state is just a class. It's just a class that has a few functions in it. So what we're doing here is just defining a state and overriding it, and defining it, like defining what it is. So I guess you could do something like, let me think of an example. Let's do an example like, let's define a class, which is a box. Or is it not able to be defined here? Let's see. Okay, we'll say final. This actually might still not work. Oh, there's no box. Okay, so like you have a final class here, and we give it a function, and then you say test equals new box. Test equals new box. Can we do that? No idea. Hold on. An anonymous class. So basically that's it. It's an anonymous class. And this would have worked if the class wasn't final, but it had to be final because it's in here. So this is Java being Java, but basically this is a construct, I guess you could say, that allows that Java has, that basically allows you to kind of explain in a singular instance of something. So rather than having to make a class that subclasses state and defining what it is there, I can just say, here's an instance of state and define it here. Mariano says, so you create a class and a global variable of this class, like a singleton or a static class. It's not global, but it's, yeah, you basically, it's an instance of a class. Just like, it's basically, I guess another way of looking at it is basically something like, let's say we had a variable in here. You would basically do something like, you know, state my state equals new state, right? So we're just defining a single variable a single variable that is an instance of a class, and then you can say my state dot whatever. So you can say my state dot main. So we're calling this function, right? But if we wanted to change what main is, we can't really do that here. We can't really do that. It's just it's already defined, so to speak. But within an anonymous state, we can override anonymous object. We can override what the class refers to. So this is basically something like making another class in another file and writing out what it is. It's very nice, very useful. And this is, I think, not as compact as it could be. You could also do something like this. So we wouldn't even have to have all that other stuff. We could just put it right there. It's ugly, but I mean, you know, it works. All right. So now this damage thing, yeah, okay. So that might be it. Let's go ahead and see. Oh, that's right. I was in the middle of doing that other stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this out with this breakable block. It's hard to see because it's white. Let's go ahead and make it a different color. It's not breaking, but I think we actually never added the component to it. Yeah. Let's see if that works. Yep. Now we can punch it in a sense and destroy it. It works. Could be a little nicer. If I'm working with Java 8, which I would in the future, I could do something more like this: g.touching objects dot get stream dot for each diff, or I guess g dot diff g dot. I guess I could do like stream it, and then like do a filter. It dot props dot contains key breakable dot. Like I could like, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, I could do different things to kind of walk around it so that it's a little easier to break multiple blocks, because currently it's only going to do one object per frame here. Because it's basically just looking to see, are you touching an object that's breakable? Yes, then break it. But what if you're touching two? It's only going to break one. So I have to basically loop through the objects. So I could just do like for game object g and g dot touching objects. Or I guess it have to be other. If other dot props dot contains key breakable. Okay, yeah. Hash map can't be resolved to a type. What? Hold on. It does. This IDE doesn't know what a hash map is. Oh, because it doesn't know what a JSON value is. Okay. All right, but that would work. There we go. Still works. Mariano Sulagoy says, so if I understand it correctly, it's like defining a subclass for a single instance. Yeah, exactly. Makes sense. Wouldn't a breakable interface be easier? Yes, I could. Well, but see, that's the thing. You have interfaces, or you could use props, game properties. So if you want to use an interface, you can. But if I don't use an interface, I don't have to have a class this way. I don't have to define this object, this breakable object, to be an instance of a class, and thereby, you know, have every object in my game world that's breakable inherit from this class or implement a breakable interface. It could just have a breakable property, and that would work fine. Now, if I wanted, you know, and you could change it to be an integer and have it be HP or whatever, and give it, you know, more properties or whatever. But yeah, there's different ways to do it. You could also just have an interface. I you know, kind of recently found interfaces like in the latter half of working on Gearind, maybe the last like 20%, and I was like, man, I wish I had known beforehand. That would have been useful. So there's different ways to do things with BDEX, but there's not too much overlap. Properties are kind of the only thing that, yeah. Matthew McCloskey says, what OS are you using? Linux Mint. Lucretia says, libgdx has a ton of great libraries. I wish they were available in Godot. Like the JSON saving thing in libgdx is so ballin', man. Oh, are you talking about just like saving properties and loading it from JSON in libgdx? Like libgdx is like built-in one, or are you talking about another one? We should add an ability to save. Well, we could add an ability to save in BDX. That's just kind of like a move objects to where they were at the time that you saved, but not saving any of their properties. Mariano says breakable is not disabled on the red blocks. Yeah, it doesn't really matter though, because I'm not checking the property itself. I'm just checking to see if it has that property. I'm not checking to see if it is on or off. But that's another little level of control. You can say, oh yeah, you know, only break things that are breakable, or turn off breakability or whatever. But you can also just add or remove the properties in game. Lucretia says, yeah, exactly that, where you serialize an entire object into a JSON automatically. Oh yeah, that is nice to be able to, yeah, serialize entire data structures, yeah, automatically. That is pretty good. I'm sure Godot has something similar. I thought I remember seeing something like you can load from a JSON, I thought. Alright, well this was fun. I got a couple of different, I got something, you know, it doesn't look as nice as Godot, but it's, I'm just more familiar with it. I have to do the camera thing, I didn't do that. Yeah, this was fun. This was a nice little exercise. Well, I think what I'd like to do is also make these. I'd like to keep working on this and make something cool. But I would like to kind of make whatever engine I use for this. I'd like to make the in development builds available as I go along, to kind of get a, you know, show a little, like, allow people to play, to test it out, and see how it runs on their computers and things. Caterpillar says it's only missing a skybox. Yeah, it is. Let's actually do that. We'll say a skybox here. We add a camera, we add a cube. Let's scale this up a little bit. Yep. This is going to be the skybox here. Let's flip the normals. Doesn't need to be collision enabled, and we'll just give it a blue coloring. I guess actually it could just be a plane, because it's just a whatever. Well, yeah, it could just be a plane. We don't need anything more fancy. Okay. So player, excuse me, init bdx.scenes.add skybox. And I think that's it. It's working, it's just on the wrong plane. I mean, it's just kind of in front of the game. We need it to be behind the game. So let's put it in the second position here. And that should be enough. Whoops. First position. Sorry. There we go. So the interesting thing about this, I liked something I added, was the ability to sort the scenes list really easily, because you can like after you add a scene, you can move a scene up or down in the list. You can just like pop it up or move it to a specific index. That's really nice. Lucretia says the behavior trees in GDX AI are way better than anything that Godot users have made. Jeez, man, come on. It's so beautiful, it brings tears to my eyes. Jeez Louise. I have to look into GDX AI. I've always done AI myself. But I've never really had complex behavior trees either. It kind of would be nice to make a game that needed, you know, some heavier lifting when it came to AI behavior, so I could kind of look into behavior trees, you know, kind of other approaches to doing AI. But hey, this was fun. Alright, so thank you very much for watching. It's been real. Next time we're definitely gonna make some more stuff, and it'll be fun, and it'll be good, hopefully. Yeah, so if you want to support my streams and things, please feel free to hit me up and throw me a bone on Patreon, or Steam, or Itch, or not SoundCloud, Bandcamp, or whatever, or, you know, do a super chat and donate right here on stream. That's always well appreciated as well. I appreciate anything you can throw my way. All right, well, thank you very much for contacting. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hold on. Lucretia said, nah, Godot's animation editor is the best game dev tool I've never used. Beats the behavior trees. That's okay. The animation tool is really nice. It is really nice. I think it would be nice to have some kind of ability. Yeah, because there is no, like, you can do animations in Blender, and if we were to have the ability to import animations apart from just object animations, but like bone animations, it'd be nice to also import tags, so that you can call things, you know, when necessary, or check to see, like, or I guess markers, call things, and it's like, oh, you know, the animation just started, or oh, you know, now we should spawn a bullet, you know, when you play this animation or whatever. That'd be cool. All right, well, anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. It's been fun. I'll catch you guys next time, and it's been fun making something kind of 3D-ish in Godot and BDX. I'll catch you guys on the flip side, and peace out.